Hello, this is Tom with the Tractor Rescue Ranch. I just wanted to thank everybody for the comments that they make on my videos. And I had a comment on this 955 John Deere of what I did to the lights to get them to working. So I thought I'd just do a quick follow-up video on this and kind of explain what I did, how I diagnosed it. The whole thing of the deal was there were several different problems that I had to work through. So the first thing I did is I've got a John Deere dealer. I have to go over to Preston, Idaho to the closest John Deere dealer, but I've got a John Deere dealer over there that's really good to work with. And they better be, because I've spent a lot of money for parts over there with them. But anyway, they were good enough to print me a wiring schematic for this. And so that's where I started. I went ahead and just highlighted all of the wires to see where they all go, everything. It's kind of hard when you're got everything in a wiring harness. It's kind of hard to follow things. But with this wiring schematic, you can find each point of it and go to the next point. So right there's the light switch, and that's where I started. And all I used on this deal was just this little light. When you ground it and plug it in, it tells you if you've got power. That was the only diagnostic tool I used on this. But light switch was right there, and so I had these panels off to get to it. But my first thing I did was determine that I had power to the light switch, and I had power on all the different terminals coming out of the light switch. So that was the first thing that I figured out. So the switch is good. So from there, I followed the diagram over to the next step, and that's the fuse box. And I had previously checked the fuses, but picking out each fuse, looking at which one was doing what, I found out that one of the fuses looked good. According to my eyes, I don't see very good anymore in the dark of the shop, but the fuse looked good, but it wasn't. So that was one of the problems that I had to fix. So I put a new fuse in that, and that took care of some of the problems. Then another problem, there's, just like on the cars, there's a flasher controller that controls the flashing of these lights here. And I had power going to it, but not coming out the other side. So I replaced that, and that fixed the lights there. So from there, the only other thing I had my headlights working. There's tail lights on it that were working from doing this part of it. The only other thing from there, I got some wires here I got to tuck inside, but there's across the front, there is 3 bulbs, and those bulbs evidently had gotten a bunch of water or something in them. So I ended up having to replace the sockets. I had power to the bulbs, but I couldn't get any lights to work in them, so I had to replace the sockets and the bulbs on all that stuff in the front. So that's kind of how I did when I do something like this. I just kind of start at the first of everything and go from there. If I had somewhere along the way, if I had a problem with the wiring in the harness, I would have just run a new wire and skip the wiring harness. You can really get into a lot of money if you start replacing wiring harnesses and stuff, and I could have made them run if it wasn't, but luckily it was just these small things in it. That's kind of what I tend to have a lot of times. It's some of the more simple things that it seems like it turns out that I'm doing that are wrong instead of the real complicated things. So thanks for your comments, and I hope that helped. And I got some new stuff and new things planned coming up. For one thing, hopefully the camera will change to this bright light outside here. This is my old Ford pickup. It's got the Power Stroke diesel in it. It's one of them real awesome motors, but I haven't been going out and doing much, and I keep it plugged in. As far as a battery saver, I keep a battery saver plugged onto those batteries to keep them topped off. And then it's got a block heater in it. I've got to get it pulled out of this snow bank and the snow cleaned off of it. I was approached today by a rancher south of me here, probably 12 or 15 miles, and he's got an old road grader. He wants me to do an engine swap for him, and then a couple old trucks as well that he wants engine swaps done in them. So I got to get things cleaned up here and get them ready to go. I'm going to go down next week and take a look at things, and with all this snow we got, I may have to wait a little bit to get snow piled up, cleaned up, and be able to get to working on this stuff. But that's some upcoming stuff that I'll be doing some videos on. So thanks for watching.